Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to share a flip through of my 5th everyday sketchbook from August 2024 to October 2024. I just finished this in October. We're just on the beginning of November. This video will come out a little way off because I've recorded loads of videos, but I wanted to just flip through it so that you can see that a sketchbook does not have to be perfect. I don't do perfect sketchbooks. This was presumably at the beginning of August. This is the work table that I've been working on the secret project. This is an item on the desk of the secret project and some tools, and I think I was just frustrated with not having done any art at that point, so out came the sketchbook. This is from a Sarah Dyer replay. I might have joined that one live, I can't recall, but this is using acrylic inks, and it was the greenhouse session, I think, the gardens and greenhouses. Swatching. Oh, this was for my Porto palette, so late August, because I went, so this sketchbook actually is dated from late August, the 20th, so mid-August. I was putting together a palette for Porto, where I went in early September, and I was playing, mixing to see what might work. I do a lot of swatching in my sketchbooks. This was Neocolored 2s because I really wanted to spend, actually, I did this is from our local pub. It was a sunny afternoon. We were looking across the way at early evening. We don't go to the pub on the afternoon during the week. But I got my Neocolours out and I was having great fun, and that's why I decided to do a month of Neocolours in September. I was intending to use something else for September, but this is how my personal challenges evolve. I will be using a material and think, oh, actually I should practice with this more, and that's how it then comes up. This is just more selecting, creating a mini palette, just doodling. Sketchbooks don't need to be perfect. This is the one thing that I preach, for want of a better word. An old olive tree, new mini palette. This is the one that I took to the UK in order to take to Porto, but the Rose Madder Genuine literally stayed like liquid, so I ended up smushing on my travels to the UK, and I decided not to risk taking it to Porto, so it got left behind. This was David's birthday. We went to Schiermonnikoog, which is a Dutch island on the north of the Netherlands. We spent the day there. That's David drinking a beer. There were artists over here. I really enjoy this drawing. I quite like this style. More swatching. This originally was drawn there the same day, but then I swatched all around it. Sometimes I'm looking for a page of paper and I end up swatching in the randomest of places. Dew and Lightfast pencils, oil based. So I was trying to discern which pencils I like more and for what reason. This is oil based and they're made in England. This is with no base layer, from imagination only, and the intent, which I have not yet fulfilled, was to then have a similar using a base layer of colour and then the Dew and Lightfast on top. I clearly haven't done that. Sounds like my neighbours are having a chinwag outside. The same with the Holbein pencils. These are oil and wax based pencils from Japan. I don't have all of these colours now. Slightly regretfully, I've given this one and a few others to my niece. Slightly regretting that, because now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that pink's gorgeous. But hey ho, that's life. Holly, if you're watching this and you don't like that colour, feel free to give it back. I know that my niece does sometimes watch my videos. Then this was supposed to be with the Coloursoft and Chromophile pencils, but obviously never happened. More playing around, this time with the Inktense pencils, because again, I was putting a pack together for my niece of colours that I didn't really use that often, and I loved this texture. Can you see that? All this texture, delicious, yummy, yummy, yummy. My niece does have a good selection of those now. Yeah, I also have Inktense blocks, so I felt no problems giving her some of the pencils. It was fine. This was playing with oil pastels and acrylic markers and just play. When I went to a Sarah van Dongen workshop last November in 2023, one of the first things she had us do, and I think it's in a video somewhere, if it is I'll link it up in the cards or in the description, but something she had us do was just play, put colour down on a page without thinking, just play. And I find it a really good way to loosen me up. Yeah, I need to do it again to figure out a kind of colour palette that I like. This is again another play session with oil pastels, mini palettes, swatching, lines, oil pastels, and Holbein vermilion plus white pastels. So playing around, layering up, seeing what I can achieve, different line work, practicing. This with acrylic inks. I think I probably smushed them with the catalyst stick that I like. I don't have it to hand, otherwise I'd show it to you. And then going in with the details after. I'm just going to bookmark this page. because there are always little things that I forget are in sketchbooks and I like to go back and remember them. This was on my way to Porto from the UK. Yeah, the 4th. No, this wasn't. This was going from Schiphol at Amsterdam to the UK. And my flight got delayed by hours and hours and hours. So I was sat at this cafe drawing and I worked on a background. It was a pre-prep page from months before, I think. Well, it wouldn't have been months actually if it was September, and I started this in August. So anywho, then 31st. So I don't do my pages sequentially. I will just open a page. Like if I'm going to put water, so here this was water based, this was acrylic ink, sorry. I would have left that to dry and then I would have flipped ahead and used a different page. And I flip around my sketchbook so they're never in date order. This was sat outside, this is like the Gold Cafe. It's a beautiful building. If I've got a photo, I'll insert it on the screen so you can see it. But it's a beautiful building here in the town where I live in the Netherlands. And we were sat outside and I just drew. There's this roof structure here that I attempted to capture but struggled. This is back in the UK. You'll know that's outside our garden. That's not a garden. The UK in September. This was a background for something I wanted to create as an illustration using Neocolor 2s, but I never got around to finishing it. I don't think it would work now. I love the colours and the texture, but that's as far as I got. Then we've got some images. These were from someone's Patreon, but I don't remember whose. Maybe it was an Emma Carlisle animal portrait session. I'm not sure. But I was drawing them on the train home with pencil and then I went in with colour to liven them up. More colour swatches. I'm always testing out colour swatches to see what I like and don't like. Just a page of background that never got used. Oh, I bought a course by, gosh, I can't remember her name. I think it's Elaine. I'm not sure. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description below. But on drawing people, portraits mostly. And I really struggle with skin tones that aren't white Caucasian. So I was trying to mix up with gouache. And then this was when I was back in the UK. So then I got distracted. I'm not even sure what this is. Clearly me playing around with colour again. Background wash. I don't know. This was in Porto. You will have seen this in my Porto recap video. Again, I'll pop it in the cards if you haven't seen that and in the description below. I love this. I come back to this all the time. It just fills me with joy. I should probably scan in some of my favourite pages and get them printed out. This was another, I think from Emma Block's Patreon. It was taking different photos and creating an image from them, and I didn't finish it because I made the child too big. Traveling from London to Porto, trying to document it, did a poor job. This was at the hotel where we were staying in Porto. More colours. Look at all that colour. Isn't that beautiful? This was all smushed out with Sansador, the Winsor Newton Sansador. So these are the Neo Pastel swatches. I think I've got a video on that. If I have, again, I'll link it. And these were the whole white ones. I feel like I probably videoed this and put this on YouTube already. I do want to get more Neo Pastels, but I actually have quite a vast selection of, or collection I should say, of oil pastels right now, so I don't actually need any more. And this is quite a beautiful colour selection anyway. Another one from Porto. I won't loiter on these because you might have seen these already. This, I love this black tree-ishness. That's probably like the best I've ever made trees look. Unfortunately, it's with a heavy black ink, so you can't see anything else around it. But that's fine because the golfers were terrible. That was an Emma Carlisle Patreon. And again, I think it was her dad and some of his friends playing golf. And photos were taken and we drew from them. And I struggled initially, but then I got into it. Thanks to some great advice from Emma about working small, because I was working too small basically. This is another one from the Drawing People online course I told you about. It's not really, I think it's great if you're like a real beginner, but I think if you've got experience drawing people, which obviously I have because I've had to illustrate people for my as part of my fashion background, I think in that respect it just repeated a lot of information I already knew. So there's a color palette that she recommends you have for different skin tones, facial features, hairs. And that was me testing it out. Some of the people on the trip I went to Porto, it was a business trip. Airport. This I love. Look at the colour. All that colour from Porto. Neocolor 2 crayons. Again, I've already shared that so I won't loiter. Beard, obviously. Love this as well. Colour pencil. I'm really going through a colour pencil phase, I think. People with colour pencils. Love these. I don't think you've seen these, or if you have, it was just a quick glimpse. This is again from Sarah Dyer Patreon session. yeah, I really enjoyed these actually. I sent them to my dad. I share a lot of my work with my dad, and this one in particular, if you ignore the fact that his arm's a bit wonky here, but that's when my dad he was like, ding dong, that looks like something a professional might do, and it made me feel quite proud. Still life, you've seen that because that was the NC2 replay. Doodles, more doodles. A bird, that was Emma Carlisle, but that was afterwards I did that, I think, in my sketchbook. I've yet to put the eye properly in place. It was in the wrong location. You can just see the black blob. I'm not sure if you can on the screen actually. And I haven't put the beak in yet. And this was drawing myself as a self-portrait. Animals, this was Emma Block. This made me doubt being in Emma Block's Patreon, and I cancelled my membership. But then she did Still Life Month and I was back again because I don't think I'm very good at drawing animals. As you can see, this was a doodle with, I don't even remember what I was using. It's one of those play sessions where you're just putting colour down and then seeing what materializes. I did it on my own accord. This is supposed to be a swimming pool. Water, the tiles, trees. It was completely made up. I wasn't looking at anything. I'm not sure what happened there. It's very, I don't know. This was our live stream. We did a Porto live stream in September, and this is from that. And this was from the workshop that I did as part of the Urban Sketches Groninger 10 years anniversary. So the person that taught that was Julia Hansa, and she was making us make thumbnails, and it's been really helpful because I've done that since for a few pieces. And then the order in which that she works, I'm finding that doesn't really work for me, but you know, it's good to learn another method. So here are some thumbnails I did while I was urban sketching to see what kind of composition I liked, where I wanted to sit and focus my energy. And then I ended up going to the Gold House, which I showed you before, and drawing from this direction. These were a few of the possible compositions I was going to work with, and I ended up drawing this. I think I was only there for about 35 minutes in the end, and then I moved on and I found a group of them, the Urban Sketchers, and I sat with them. Oh, that's it, because I hadn't eaten all day, and so we'd done the workshop on the morning, and then I kind of worked through lunch. So afterwards, when we met everybody else, all the other Urban Sketchers, I was like, I'm going to go find somewhere warm and dry, get some food, which is where I was. Drew this while I was eating, and then I went and met them, and this is much closer. So this is that church. This is it at a distance, and this is it much closer, zoomed in. And we were sat here right on the corner. These are the Haya Paul Rubens giant oil pastel sticks. I've got a video on that. I will link it. That was a popular one. This is a live drawing, portrait drawing, sorry, Naomi, as part of Sarah Dyer's Patreon, and it was a disaster. And then this will you have seen September's New Colours. This was me. I was in the Gold House getting mustard soup, which is a local speciality here, and drawing a plant in front of me. I think I've shown you this, but I've blotched away the colour, and then I haven't done anything with it because I love it as is. This was definitely Roma Small Month. Okay, so you've seen this, maybe I'll link that up here. I'll flip through quick because you don't need to see all that again. This was my dry train to London to see my friend Cleo, who is based in the US, and I don't get to see her very often. She will be my maid of honour. And she was in the UK for a very brief period of time, and I managed to see her, which is a rarity. And I actually planned my trip to the UK to coincide with her. Unfortunately, she had to leave early because of the hurricane in Florida. But I was just on the train capturing quick scenes, which is fun. This is where I had lunch while I was waiting for her to finish up. And this was a few days later in my hometown. This one I absolutely adore. It's from a photo from an old book at my dad's, and I really love this. I need to think about this more. Drawing my brothers. We always get together on the 14th with my dad. It's the anniversary of when we lost my mum, and it's becoming a habit to draw both my brothers. Carl turned out a lot better than last year. Lee, well, not so sure. My dad did a drawing, so I was looking at, I think it might be in the other sketchbook, but we have this tree, and I had drawn it, and I said to Pa about drawing, and he was like, go on then. So I gave him the pencil and the pad, and he did this. And oh, he's in a different sketchbook. I drew him drawing this in a different sketchbook. So he did good, right? That was my dad drawing. This was from a friend's photo. She was in Istanbul, my friend Kate. So I got my gouache out and I drew from her photo on stories, Instagram stories, attempting tree blobs. Katie Moody replay. I enjoy this green. I really like this green with the blue. It's interesting. This was another continuation of that with a Roman small base. These were an Emma Carlisle Patreon replay. These were like late at night. I think I've already mentioned that in a previous video, but I was working really hard for a deadline, so I was doing these at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night just to get some art in. And this is that same Emma Carlisle session. I drew David. We went for a Sunday roast on the 20th of October. That was my dad's birthday. He was reading. They didn't have roasts, so we ended up having burgers. These are the gorgeous square pastels that I've shown you. Again, link it in the description and up here. This, I don't think you've seen yet. This is another video that's coming out very soon. You may have seen it by now. You may not have, but this is just swatching that particular material here in my sketchbook. My Roman Schmel swatches we did at the beginning of October. Plans, more swatching, and more swatching, and that's it, my friends. So sketchbooks do not have to be perfect. It's really important that we remember that, because I think we can see other people's work on Instagram and here on YouTube, and we feel like, oh my gosh, my work's, I have that. I'm like, oh my gosh, my work is so rubbish. But there's a popular saying definitely within the business arena, when you run a business, and people talk about how you shouldn't compare yourself, and I'm just going to reiterate it here because I think it's quite important. We all start from different places, so where I am at in my art journey is different to where you are, or the next door neighbor of you or of me. We're all at different points in our journey. Some of us might have been practicing for years, some of us might have been practicing for days or weeks, and you can't compare yourself to someone else that has been practicing for longer, because it's detrimental to your own growth in this field of art that you happen to love. So, you know, don't compare your work to my work. Don't compare my work to anyone else's work. We do it to ourselves all the time, and it's a really bad habit. Sketchbooks should be a place for play. I think I might record a video on that. Maybe I have an old video on how I use a sketchbook for play, but maybe I'll also show you how I use a sketchbook within fashion design and experimenting and understanding and learning before I create collections. Maybe that would be helpful as well. Anyway, I've been waffling, sorry. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below which of the things I showed you in this sketchbook that you enjoyed seeing the most, and I will see you again for another video very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.